So yes, I've heard about the hubbub regarding the rock. On Friday, when the jury went to 34 Fairview, there was a rock. And when someone had said it was like a decorative rock that had the Alberts name on it, I pictured one of those kind of bigger ones that people use in their front yards that would say like engraved, like Albert, 34 Fairview, like a big fancy decorative rock. It's not that at all. It's a kind of a flat rock that's on the ground. And it almost looks like, you know, maybe like a kid made it in art class or something, right? It says Alberts and it has this little decoration on it. The point is, it was never there before. It's gone now, but it happened to magically be there during this period of time when the jury was there. Now, I Googled this morning to see if I could find, I've seen pictures of the rock close up, but I'd never seen any pictures. I'm like, the press was all over that lawn. How was it not in any of their coverage? But of course, my girl Googe is all over it. So Googe made this video last night sometime, and you see here she's pointing out where the rock is. And this is important because the jury was told by the prosecutor, when you go walk over to where the SUV is, look at the taillight. So the jury would all have been very close by that. They would have had to kind of walk past that rock in order to get to the SUV, right? And the longer they stood around, the more likely they would be to look down at the ground and be like, what's this? So that's really fishy. But there's something else in this photo that I think is even more important. I've made a couple of videos about the jury field trip. Last year, when the jury went during trial number 1, Karen's car was parked further back up the road that way. It was kind of closer to the mailbox. And this time around, it was reported by a local Boston reporter on camera who said this time the prosecutor has positioned Karen's vehicle near where John's body was found to give the jury that kind of visual, right? Because they would see the SUV and they would go, okay, that's where the body was. And maybe they would connect the dots and think this is plausible. But I'm telling you, we have just been consistently gaslit for the last 3 years in believing that this lawn is huge. Everyone in the house has testified that there's absolutely no way that they would have been able to see anything happening over by the flagpole. Anyone leaving and pulling out of that driveway, even people driving past here, going by, are all saying, we never saw anything. It was way too far out there. It was way too far out there. An early police report says the body was found at the edge of the Alberts property line. But this isn't the edge of the Alberts property line. Their property line is over here, past all these bushes. That white fence goes out there over where the fire hydrant is, right? That's their property line. So this is all considered their front lawn. So if John was found right back here by the SUV, that's why I needed this photo. Thank you, Googe, because this is a perfect photo. How does the accident happen right here? If you're John and you're on the other side of that vehicle, on the passenger side, and you've just been hit by that passenger side tail light, and you're laying over here on the ground, how does anyone in this house not hear it or see it? How does anyone leaving not hear it or see it? Like, it's impossible. But that's not even the reason I made this video. I came here to talk about jury tampering. Now, is it jury tampering? I don't know. I'm sure there's some legal cutoff as to what is jury tampering, but jury manipulation, 100%. And someone came into my comments a couple of days ago when I first started talking about the jury field trip, and they said, juries go on field trips like to the crime scene? Yes, and a lot of times in murder cases they do. And the one time I could remember clear as day that this happened, and it may have, it changed the jury's perception of the defendant. I can't say if it changed the outcome of the case, but it absolutely was controversial in that it very much represented the defendant in a different light. And of course, the one I'm talking about is the People versus O.J. Simpson. At one point, the jury is taken to the house on Rockingham. Now, let me talk about this very quickly. He was accused of killing Nicole Brown Simpson, who was his wife, and Ron Goldman, who's an acquaintance of hers. And so he's on trial for murder, which is bad anyway. But he had image problems. It was a pretty well-believed rumor that he was, if nothing else, kind of a womanizer and an abuser, right? So he had perception problems. So his defense team takes advantage of this field trip to the home. And if you just Google this, it says right here, like it was intended just so they could see his home and kind of understand like different parts of the story, because there was parts where like he allegedly killed her and then he went here and he went there. And so they needed to see like the scene. And so it says they saw it as an opportunity to present his home life in a favorable image. And what they did was they realized that he was kind of seen as this violent, angry man. And they had this one shot, because it wasn't just the jury, it was reporters who were going to be in the home, and had this one shot to sort of clean up his image. So what they did was they essentially, I guess I'm going to use the word, softened his home, right? They added more family photos. They took down some of the artwork that might appear misogynistic or sexist or whatever. I mean, if you got like a Hooters calendar in your kitchen, like, I'm just making that up, but you would take that down, and then of course they would place it with a Bible, right? To present this image that he was this pure and loving family man. Prosecutor became very concerned that they had essentially changed the aesthetics of his home enough that the jury could be swayed to believe, well, he's just a good young man who just sits home and reads his Bible. There's no way he killed her. So back to the rock at 34 Fairview. Is it jury tampering? Maybe not. Like, it might not meet that threshold, but it's absolutely jury manipulation or jury influence. By putting an Albert rock, the Alberts haven't lived there for 2 years. So by putting that there, it's almost like you're putting in the mind that this is the family home. And because the rock looked like it might be, a kid's art project, like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be insulting if that's somebody's art, but that's kind of what it reminded me of. I'm like, oh, it's cute. One of their kids probably painted it when they were little. It conjures up nostalgia and family. And so it makes you think that this wasn't a bad place where bad things could happen to people. It's not some brutal fight club happening in the basement. This is a good, wholesome American family, those Alberts. Yeah, it's jury manipulation. And no one knows where it came from, and no one knows where it went.